Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to the vlog. Woo! You know, that's how you start a vlog, with tire smoke. Oh, that smells good. Oh yeah. Alright, let's do this. Hello everybody and welcome. My name is Matt, and this vlog is a bit different because I'm not on a motorcycle. Very different. Reason being, if you can see, the weather, it's a bit wet. It's not horrible, but it is very wet. And it's been raining on and off for the past couple of days, hence why there hasn't been a video recently. I kind of have this tough struggle of like, when I have time to ride, the weather is crap, and when I don't have time to ride my motorcycle and do a vlog, the weather's fine. It's beautiful, but as soon as I have time, it does this. It does this. Mother Nature, I think Mother Nature has it out for me. So let's get moving. Ooh, a little slippery still. All right, well, let's get into the car news today. It's only more fitting that I'm doing car news because I'm actually inside of a car as opposed to being on a motorcycle. But as far as car news goes, we're looking at stuff at GM. We're also looking at some more GM stuff about a Corvette. And then we're going to look at the Shelby GT350 and finally a somewhat awesome, sort of cool-ish Hyundai. I don't normally talk about Hyundais, but you'll see why this one is special. It's very special, actually. So, all right, so going to get into the first of the two GM stories I have for you today. Hence why I'm actually wearing a Camaro shirt. You probably can't see it, but I'm in a Mustang and I'm wearing a GM shirt. Go figure. So there's been a lot of political unrest in the country of Venezuela, and GM of Venezuela just had their factory raided by the Venezuela officials. Raided by the government. They had all their assets seized, equipment, cars, all of it was seized, taken away, and is under police control. Now you might be thinking, well, what the heck did GM do? You know, what were they doing to deserve such treatment? Well, supposedly they were doing nothing, and this is a result of some political turmoil in the country of Venezuela. There's a lot of heat within the current political administration there. Lots of riots. It's a very big deal that you normally wouldn't associate having any effect on the car world. Well, this is one instance where it has had a profound effect on GM, at least, because it's put 2,500 workers at that General Motors plant out of work. Now, GM says that the Venezuelan police came in there and just, without reason, without cause, just seized everything. Now, the Venezuelan government has responded to that and said, well, we came in there and put all of your stuff under an embargo, but that doesn't mean you know, have to stop making cars. We welcome you to make more cars. And GM says, well, how are we supposed to make cars if we don't have our stuff and have the cars that we were making? So there's a weird conflict here where GM says the Venezuelan government said they can't make cars, they took their stuff away. The Venezuelan government says, no, we say you can make cars, you just can't use any of your stuff to make the cars. It doesn't make sense. We'll just have to keep an eye on this situation, because not only is it a thing with just GM, this issue in Venezuela with the political administration there is much more widespread than just affecting GM. It's a very big deal in Venezuela right now. We'll just have to keep an eye on it and see what GM does in response to this. All right, so this is me turning around because I don't like being stuck behind garbage trucks or school buses or anything. I just want some open road like this here. Yeah, oh, there's pedestrians. I don't know what they were doing. Did you see that? They were mad at me for something. Okay, so, so now that that is over, let's talk about the next piece of GM news. So, the new Corvette, a new Corvette was spied at the Nürburgring. The Nürburgring. I can't speak today. It was spied at the Nürburgring, and the cool thing about it here, everyone's curious about the engine in it because it was so loud that it violated the noise restriction at the Nürburgring, and the engineers testing it had to fit a couple of extra pieces of exhaust pipes to the outside exhaust tips. They had to fit these 90-degree pieces on there to quiet it down. Now, it had the Nürburgring on that day had a 100 decibel noise restriction. Now, that's not a constant noise restriction. A lot of tracks, depending on the circumstances, depending on the events around them, will enforce periodical noise restrictions. So it's not all the time. So it's not like the Nürburgring always has a 100 decibel track limit. But this Corvette was spied there, and this is kind of a big deal because, well, it's not really a big deal. It's a Corvette. It was spied there. It's a C7. It's not the new mid-engine Corvette that everyone's hyping about, but it's a C7, and rumors say that it is going to be the new ZR1 Corvette, and it's supposedly going to have even more power than the current supercharged Z06. So that means more than 650 horsepower to a Corvette, because yeah, it's a Corvette. That's awesome. That's awesome. I think they're thinking, well, crap, we gotta stuff some more power in this handling machine, because we've got these straight line machines to contend with. We've got the Dodge, Demon. We've got the Hellcat. They got to contend with these people in the same price range, so they've got to give it some more power in the straights, which, quite frankly, is going to ruin its handling ability on an actual track, which is what Corvettes are really meant for. They're not so much as straight line cars, because they're meant for handling. But it is cool because you can see the wing on this thing. Here's a couple of photos, and it's just got this massive wing on it. But I mean, a stock Corvette with a wing like that, that's serious business there. Everyone was complaining about the little itty-bitty little spoiler on the Z06 a couple of years ago on the earlier C7s as well. They had this little bitty spoiler that added some unnecessary drag. Well, you want to talk about drag, talk about that wing right there. That's pretty massive. Okay, getting off of the GM stuff, because, I am in a Ford after all. I know it is blasphemous for me to be wearing this GM t-shirt, but I mean, I don't really have any really hard brand loyalty. If it goes fast, does skids, does burnouts, and sounds good, it's good to me. I just happen to get that fix, I just happen to get that power fix from a Ford as opposed to a GM or a Mopar. But let's get off of GM and let's talk about Ford. So earlier on this week, April 17th, was National Mustang Day. And that's because it was the 53rd anniversary of the Mustang when it was originally announced April 17th, 1964? Yeah, 1964. And it was Mustang Day, and Ford, they said, well, on Mustang Day, hey, we're gonna keep making the GT350. They didn't announce anything big. They didn't have any big celebrations. They just simply said, let's keep making a car that we're already making. Now, there was speculation that the GT350, that 2017 would be the last model year for the GT350. Well, Ford says, nope, 2018, that's going to be the last one, tentatively. We'll let you know in 2018. So the 2018 model coming out this fall may very well be the last model year for the current generation of the GT350. Now, they did announce that they're going to do a couple of other color schemes for it. They'll add a couple of paint jobs from the factory, but that's it. That's it. It's otherwise mechanically identical to GT350s of the past couple of years of GT350s. It's basically identical, which, hey, why fix it if it's not broke, right? But I just find, again, like I said, I find amusement in the fact that they didn't do anything particularly special for National Mustang Day. I mean, they did have things, but as far as really big news, there wasn't any big Ford news for Mustang Day, and they just said, we're going to keep making a car that we're already making. There you go. I don't know. I find the cynical side of me finds amusement in this. All right, so I'm getting back into the city here. The roads are actually kind of drying up. It doesn't look like it's going to rain again, even though it's pretty much rained all day. At least where I've been at, rained all day yesterday, so I mean, I probably could have rode my motorcycle. Well, either way, we're going to get to the last piece of news, and that's about a Hyundai Santa Fe. But before you go, this Hyundai Santa Fe is something a bit special, because it's the very first passenger vehicle in the world to have traveled the Antarctic all the way to the South Pole and back. So this is a cool story because a man named Patrick Bergel, I think I'm pronouncing that right, he's the great-grandson of Sir Ernest Shackleton, who was a man who attempted to explore the South Pole. And now this was 100 years ago that Sir Ernest Shackleton went to the South Pole in a ship and got his ship stuck there with his crew and somehow managed to get out and save the lives of all of his crew. Now this is cool because Hyundai, I guess, partnered up because they felt it would be a good thing for their brand. It would look good for the brand, certainly. But they partnered up with Patrick Burgle, great-grandson like I said, to build a Hyundai that can travel to the South Pole and back. And Patrick Burgle did this, and they etched the names of all the previous crew members on this car, and they did a bunch of cool stuff, and they made a documentary, a short, well, not really a documentary, but a short film. Hyundai made a short film for this and filmed part of the expedition. It's a cool video. You should check it out, not because I particularly have any association with Hyundai or really care that much about Hyundai vehicles. It's just kind of a neat video. I mean, when I think of Hyundais, and I think of a Hyundai Santa Fe, my mother bought one of those when they came out with the Santa Fe. She bought one, and you just associate it as being a big, heavy SUV with not a whole lot of four-wheeling potential, even though it was a nice car. It was a decent car. And I'm gonna go this way because there's construction up there. Now, you don't typically associate a Hyundai Santa Fe. Gonna make that turn. There we go. You don't typically associate a Hyundai Santa Fe with being the car that can travel to the South Pole and back. Now, they did a whole lot to this car and fitted it with big tires, some kind of crazy gearing system in the wheel hubs, actually. And I think the coolest thing they did to it was the fact that they converted the 2.2-liter diesel engine to run on jet fuel. That's right, Jet A specifically. And they did so because that's the only fuel available down there. That's the only fuel you can get at the South Pole and any place down there. So they say, well, we got to make this Hyundai, we got to make this thing run on jet fuel, which in itself really is not all that different from regular fuels that we use. It's just a whole lot higher octane and other stuff like that. But this is a cool thing because this is a historical thing they did. They did it in last December. Reason it's news now is because they did the film for it. They released the film for it a couple of days ago. That's why it still applies as being news. And it's just a cool historic thing that, well, the first car to traverse the South Pole successfully has done so, and it was a Hyundai Santa Fe. That's right. So to recap, today I talked about General Motors in Venezuela, the new Corvette ZR1, maybe, the new-ish Shelby GT350, that's the same as the last Shelby GT350, but they'll be making it next year. And then a Hyundai Santa Fe that went across the North Pole and got stuck a lot, but was really awesome. Oh yeah, and I did donuts and made two old ladies really mad. That's what I did today. I hope you had a fantastic day. I'm gonna wrap this vlog up right here. Now, if you want to follow me between videos, check out my social media, Twitter and Instagram at Sir Matt West. Now, I'm gonna get going before someone calls the police on me. I'm Matt, and you'll be seeing me in the next video. Bam!